Hey guys, this is your host Eric. Today we are going to watch action genre movie called The Equalizer. Spoilers ahead, turn on your subtitle. I greatly appreciate your support. Enjoy the video. Robert McCall gets up early to get ready for his job at Home Mart. He is well liked and respected by his co-workers. He sits down to eat with his friend Ralphie. Ralphie bites into his sandwich, and McCall notices his sandwich contains chips. Ralphie is reminded by McCall he's supposed to be losing weight in preparation for his security guard exam. McCall usually goes to a diner and brings a book with him. Currently, he is reading The Old Man and the Sea. A young girl in the area inquires of McCall whether the man in the book has caught the fish. Not yet, he says. The girl finishes her pie and calls a cab. McCall's co-workers inquire about his previous employment. He jokes that he was a pip with Gladys Knight dancing for them. That night, McCall returns to the diner and runs into the same girl she first noticed. He's reading a new book when a limo arrives across the street from the diner. She then receives a phone call from her pimp, Slavy. He informs her that she has a client, who is the man in the limo. The girl refuses because this man is a pig, and the car door opens to reveal an obese man waiting for them. Reluctantly, she steps outside to join him. McCall runs into the girl in the diner the next night. She has a bruising on her cheek. He hands her a donut he got from work. She joins him at his table and introduces herself as Terry, despite the fact that her real name is Alina. She hands McCall a CD with a recording of herself singing on it. McCall walks away with her before a car arrives. It's Slavy and his chauffeur Tevi. Slavy exits and slaps Alina McCall, taking a step forward until he notices Tevi has a gun. Slavy approaches McCall and hands him a business card to ask for other girls. Another night, McCall returns to the diner and learns from the manager that Alina is in the ICU. McCall goes there after being severely beaten and sees another prostitute, Mandy, by Alina's side. Her face has become even more bruised and swollen. Mandy sobs as she walks past McCall. She gets a cup of coffee, but it overflows. McCall consoles her and inquires about Alina. Mandy tells him that Slavy hit Alina, who hit him back and was made an example of, and that Slavy also threw battery acid in a girl's face to make her an example as well. Before McCall looks at the card Slavy gave him, he has threatened other girls. He enters a room above a restaurant where Slavy and his men are. McCall walks in with a $9,800 check for Alina's freedom. The goons laugh at McCall at first, but Slavy says the money would be enough to keep Alina for a month. McCall returns the money and begins to walk away. He almost leaves, but instead stays and locks the door. He sets his timer after carefully observing the men and whatever weapons they may be wielding. One of the men points his gun at McCall, but he grabs his arm, causing the man to shoot Slavy in the throat. He then pokes that man in the eye with a shot glass. He stabs the third man, then gets a corkscrew and stabs Tevi repeatedly until he sticks it under his chin and kills him. McCall walks over to Slavy's side and watches him die. Following the murders, Teddy, a Russian mobster, arrives in Boston to track down the perpetrator. To obtain leads, he joins forces with a group of corrupt cops. McCall notices Ralphie isn't at work. He's been informed that Ralphie has ceased his visits to McCall. Teddy is taken by one of the crooked cops, Frank Masters, to the workplace of a gangster named John Looney to continue his search for the after a fire broke out, supposedly by accident. Ralphie is helping there. Teddy, and all Russians in general, are insulted by John. Teddy responds by hitting John with an ashtray, while Frank kills John's goons. Teddy continues to stomp on John's face until he collapses. McCall is seen with his co-workers playing baseball. Ralphie arrives in a security guard uniform after passing his test. Reamer and Peterson, the other two dirty cops, are eating at Ralphie's. The mothers they extort money from her and threaten another accident if the money is not paid on time. McCall spots them outside the restaurant once more and says he'd like to report a crime. They dismiss him until he addresses one of them personally. McCall shows them a video he took of them extorting a convenience store clerk as evidence of their confession to starting the restaurant fire. McCall informs them that they can either return the money or the video will be broadcast on the news station. McCall is held at gunpoint by the cops, but he quickly beats them both. They comply and return the money to Ralphie's mother later. A thief enters the house and holds the cashier, Jenny, at gunpoint until she hands over the money in the register. McCall approaches him calmly and hands him the money. Jenny's mother's ring is also demanded by the crook. She hands it to him with tears in her eyes. McCall noticed several details about the man, such as his tattoos and his. He remains motionless as children and their mother enter the store. McCall instead follows the man outside and examines the license plates on his car. The cops inform them that this was part of a series of robberies committed by the same individual. McCall then goes to a rack to get a sledgehammer. Jenny finds her ring in the register the next day, and McCall returns the hammer to the rack after wiping it. Teddy obtains some information about McCall, the majority of which appears to be clean, with no indication that he was involved in Slava's death. While one of their guys tries to catch McCall at the diner, he and Frank, along with another villain, stake out. McCall suspects the man is up to no good and inquires if they are expecting anyone else. The man pulls out a gun and begins to approach him. A truck approaches the diner, obscuring Teddy Ann's view. McCall kills the man by slamming his head down on the table and breaking his neck after hitting him in the stomach with his book. He then turns off the lights by inserting a knife into an outlet. He exits the diner and takes pictures of Teddy and his men in their car. McCall is followed home by the gangsters. He prepares some honey to treat the gunman's wound. He sneaks out before Teddy and his thugs arrive from another room. McCall monitors them through cameras hidden throughout his apartment. Teddy is aware that he is being watched as McCall visits his friends Brian and Susan Plummer's home. McCall knows Susan can learn more about Teddy and the people he works for. While she is out getting what he requested, Brian informs McCall that he was thought to be dead, but Susan knew the truth. When she returns, she informs McCall that the man he murdered was a member of the Russian mafia. Vladimir Pushkin is in charge. Teddy, whose real name is Nikolai, is the man Pushkin dispatches when something needs to be done. Pushkin's employees, Dreamer and Peterson, were discovered dead a few days earlier, their testicles blown off and shoved down their throats. Susan forewarns McCall that these men will not stop until he and everyone he loves are dead. McCall locates Frank and traps him in his car with a hose, poisoning him with carbon monoxide until he agrees to assist him. Frank Relay leads McCall to a warehouse where the Russians store their weapons. McCall manages to get all of the gangsters to surrender, and he locks them up in a room with all of the money for the cops to find before releasing the workers. The police arrive to apprehend the gangsters and arrest Frank McCall. He then goes to Frank's safe deposit box and obtains his money passport as well as a USB containing additional information about Pushkin and his dealing. He locates his oil tankers and destroys them all. Teddy and his men take over Home Mart and kidnap McCall's friends, including Ralphie and Jenny, unless he goes to confront them. When he doesn't appear, the villains track his cell phone and almost execute one of McCall's co-workers until music starts playing over the intercom. The gangsters walk out and are steadily killed by McCall as he moves around the scene. He hangs one with barbed wire, stabs another through the neck, and then blows one up in a microwave room with hydrogen. Ralphie goes to assist McCall, but he is shot in the leg. McCall assists him in escaping until he is alone with Teddy. After the explosion sets off the sprinklers, McCall grabs a nail gun and repeatedly shoots Teddy in the throat, killing him. Pushkin in his home 3 days later, McCall corners. Pushkin is taking in Moscow. McCall repeatedly turns on and off the lights and runs the dishwasher. Water. Pushkin walks by the sink and discovers that McCall has vanished. He orders his guards, not realizing that McCall has cut the wires and exposed them. Pushkin is electrocuted after the water strikes the wires. The other guards are already dead. Alina approaches McCall when he returns to Boston, no longer bruised. She informs him that she has obtained a real job and has begun to work. She thanks McCall for his help and kisses him on the cheek before they part ways. Farewell. McCall is back at the diner on his laptop in the final scene. He receives a message requesting assistance. He simply says yes. We really appreciate you watching. If you enjoy this video, please give it a like. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel with the notification bell because it is really important for us. Thank you.